Want some candy?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
I hear you looking for candy, man, bitch.
Give me some sugar, baby. Like scary movies.
Uh-huh. Want some candy?
I'm a werewolf! Hey, candy killers! You're listening to Monster Candy Podcast! Yeah! What's up, guys?
I remember if I tried to hold it together.
Well, I'm Shotzi Blackheart. And we got Screamin' E with us.
Yo!
And Dominic Dabby. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. No howl from you, Screamin' E?
You can't see this, but I'm peeing on the table.
Yummy.
That's good. That's good. This is a super monster wolf right there.
It's very, very, universal monsters.
Yeah. Welcome to Monster Candy Podcast. Today we're doing Silver Bullet.
The best werewolf movie ever.
It's a juicy beauty.
You know, you're the only one of the three of us, Shotzi, that overwhelms the monitor mix every time where it peaks out and goes, I give up. And
I'm Filipino. I'm a loud savage. That's what I do.
True.
I'm Sicilian. We're pretty loud. I'm not. I guess you win because I'm not peeking out the mic.
No.
Filipinos are savages. That's why they're so good at karaoke.
Is that the secret? Is that your secret?
Yes.
You're Filipino, so you're good at karaoke.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what they
And
do.
you pick out monitors.
I grew up with a karaoke machine in my hand.
You came out and you're like, oh, Brandy.
You're a fine girl.
No, she came out singing Celine Dion.
Yeah.
The Celine Dion.
Oh.
That was my mom's jam. She tried to do the Celine. My mom can't sing. Okay, I don't know where I got the little bit of talent I got because my mom, she cannot sing. She shouldn't sing. She shouldn't fucking sing.
Mom.
Anyway,
Mama.
Mom, love you.
Mama, don't sing, please.
Mama, please don't sing Celine Dion again, please.
Do we got some
horror news? Is it time for horror news?
Yeah, do we have anything?
I'll just do it by myself. Okay, there we go. Man, we're annoying tonight. Apologies in advance.
So I got hip to a new horror streaming service called Bizarre TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. Like, you never told me about this before. Tell me about it right now. Like, I've never heard about this.
You got it. So, Bizarre TV. So they play a lot of, like, horror movie shorts and just, like, old, really, really bad horror movies. But my favorite part about Bizarre TV is that they insert a bunch of, like, really old horror and Halloween commercials. Like, they'll have Frankenstein promoting Pepsi, or they'll have the Count Chocula and Frankenberry commercials on, and I think it's really cute.
Frankenberry is delicious.
Yeah, just for those commercials in between the horror shorts,
I like
is worth the $5.
That's pretty
a
cool.
month. But it is fun. There was a lot of interesting horror shorts. There was the first thing that came on when I turned on Bizarre TV was a werewolf short, and I was like, oh, you won my heart. But it's $5. It's interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you got?
I watched, I guess I'll call this my movie pick of the week. I watched a I think it's Japanese. Hold on, let me look it up. It's called Monsters!
Okay.
Monsters! It's on Shudder. I honestly just put it on because of the name. Just purely because the name is so cute.
It's a good name.
But it's kind of comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about these they're kind of like zombies, but they're flesh-eating ghouls is what they're calling it on IMDb. So zombies.
I'm into it.
And it's really funny and kind of fucked up, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's great. You should check it out. Yeah, that's my pick.
I have something weird that I saw. Did I talk about on the podcast about Imprint from Masters of Horror?
No.
So Oubliette, who's also in my band, Tsunami Bomb, and is a big horror fan, was telling me, like, I guess she might have listened to some episodes, and she was like, you're not allowed to continue to do this horror podcast until you've seen Imprint from the series Masters of Horror. Now, I'm sure everybody remembers Masters of Horror. It was a pretty good series. Somehow it missed me. I did not see it when it aired.
I didn't either, but I stumbled upon it on YouTube and watched a bunch of it that way.
Right.
Just found it one time, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome!"
It's really awesome because
really
it's
fucking
legitimately, for those of you who don't know, which I'm pretty sure most of you do, it's really classic, well-known horror directors doing an hour-long episode, and those a season. It lasts about 2 seasons. And it was shown on Showtime. I guess it was kind of a response to Tales from the Crypt in a sense, but it was really just like everybody getting to do a short horror film of their jam. And it had a lot of really great actors in it, a lot of different stories, and they're awesome. But the 13th episode of the first season was called Imprint, directed by Takashi Miike. And it was scheduled to premiere on January 27, 2006, but it was shelved by Showtime over concerns of extremely graphic and disturbing content. And you can only see it on the DVD, but now you can kind of see it like on the DVD collection that's on there. But it takes place it stars Billy Drago as a Victorian era American journalist, and he's traveling to Japan looking for Komomo, a lost girlfriend prostitute that he lost and is trying to bring to America. And then he comes to this island populated solely by horrors and their masters, and he spends the night, and he ends up finding out like what happened to her, and it just goes these crazy stories, and it involves like aborted fetuses floating down the river.
Yummy.
And like all sorts of stuff, and it's really interesting. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but if you could track down this particular episode, I want to give a shout out to Oubliette for having me watch it.
How did you watch it?
I watched it by finding it online.
Okay.
Because I don't have the DVDs. Though I kind of want to own this series.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's really good. Everything I've seen from it, I really
send me that shit.
I like
hot chick privilege.
I like how you're holding your hand up and talking out of the side of your mouth, even though no one can see you, but you're still doing it.
I'm practicing for when people can actually see us.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
All right.
I'm prepared.
But I want to give a shout out for this episode because it's kind of messed up in a whole other way. And, you know, I bet they shelved it because of the floating baby fetuses. In fact, when it gets to the credits, it just shows a dead baby like floating down the river. Like it's definitely going for it. But really, it's like there's torture scenes in it, and like needles to the gums, where it shows somebody hanging upside down. They have all these needles, and they're just like drooling and bleeding, and it's like it's pretty crazy. I really enjoy it. I mean, it's not over the top. But even if you've seen this series, unless you had the DVD, you may not have seen this 13th episode. Mm-hmm. And it's really worth checking out. It's really well done. And again, props to Oubliette for showing me this. It's worth seeing. And so it's not really a Netflix pick because it's not on Netflix. I guess it's just sort of a pick. But it's something I remember
Pick your nose.
To share that I thought was awesome and it's worth seeing. And it's if you like Japanese culture.
Yeah, I need to look that
it's really
up.
Awesome.
I need to look that up.
I recommend it. I recommend the whole series. but I'm sure most people have seen it or should see
I
it.
wonder if it's on Amazon.
It is. I checked.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if Imprint is, but the series is on Amazon.
Okay.
So yes, check that out. That's my recommendation.
Alrighty.
Any other horror news?
I think that's it.
Anyway, Silver Bullet.
Wow.
All right, Silver
right.
Bullet.
Let's get into it.
Silver Bullet. Sounds like a great beer.
You know, rewatching it, this might be the best werewolf movie.
That's strong words.
I mean, like Wolfman has my heart. Wolfman has my heart and will always be one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. It is my favorite movie, but I think that Silver Bullet is a really fucking good werewolf movie, even better than, dare I say, American Werewolf in London.
That's some heavy shit.
Right?
That's a heavy statement.
Right?
Right there.
No, I decided that today while watching it. I was like, you know what? I think this is better than American Werewolf in London.
I wonder how many people would agree.
Not a lot, I'm sure. Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Nope. I know.
Not many.
But I like this film better.
Oh man.
Like for me it would be Wolfman, Silver Bullet, American Werewolf in London.
I think it's definitely a departure from your typical like horror movie werewolf. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's a little more Monster Squad-ish.
It definitely
maybe that's why I like it.
You know, so it makes it a little bit more fun instead of just.
That's probably part of the charm right there.
That is it. I love childish things.
Well, or coming of age and the preteen.
Yes,
like
yeah.
It's kind of a movie. I feel like a type of movie that's kind of been lost in terms of its charm.
Yeah.
Because I've seen kind of attempts at doing family movies for adventure movies
Well,
for
it
kids,
was
and it never has the bite.
Right.
They just lost. All movies produced basically from about the 2000s on seems to have lost a lot of the bite. Sandlot had.
It's a good combination of like, I don't want to say a family movie, but a good combination of a family type movie with a hard horror line.
That's what I was just gonna say. It's fun loving, but really does not hold back on the gore.
Yeah, no.
Well, I think that's why the popularity now of like Stranger Things and the new It, you know, it's like because now you're getting that Goonies quality, like that old like throwback to having some bite to a movie. Like not people go a little too soft on kids. They think the kids can't handle like some of the darker stuff.
Yeah,
and,
no,
you know,
they can't.
It's a good adventure and horror thing combination. You know,
it does feel like a bit of an adventure movie.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it has Lucas in it. How can it not be an adventure movie?
Lucas in it. Yeah. I mean, Corey Haim. Gotta love him.
Rest in peace, sir.
You know, I always forget that he's dead, and it really bums me out every time I remember.
I was just mentioning Gary Busey outlived a child that was probably 25 to 30 years younger than him.
That's weird. Mm-hmm. That's really weird to think about.
And fucking Gary Busey is awesome. So any movie with Gary Busey in it is gonna be gold.
A lot of people don't love, like, this movie has like I think it gets its props, but I don't think it's beloved. I mean, it was a flop. It was a flop, legitimate flop.
That's sad.
Yeah, I don't understand how.
Yeah, it's so good.
I mean, it cost about $7 million estimated. Grossed about $5.5 million.
What year
Bummer.
did it come out?
It's 1985. But you pointed out something when we were watching it today, that it's not an 80s.
Well,
era.
it's set in the late 70s, which is weird because I never really caught that before.
No, I just assumed the 80. It was like 85.
Yeah.
It looks like 85 to me.
Yeah, it definitely does. But I was like, whoa. I mean, you know, there's the styles and everything, and it's pretty close to late 70s and stuff too. But yeah, I thought that was like, that's in the 70s, really? All right, but
yeah, it's a fun movie. It's based off of Stephen King's novella, The Cycle of the Werewolf, and that's a great story. But then again, as anybody who's been listening to this podcast knows, I like Stephen King. I like his work.
Stephen King rules.
It definitely strays from that story. It's a lot less scary than his story. His story is a lot more burly. For those of you who haven't watched it and is listening to this episode, though, according to what you guys tell us, you guys don't listen to episodes until you've actually seen the movie. Well, for the benefit of the occasional person who has not seen Silver Bullet, I will give you a summary. It takes place in the small town of Tarker's Mills in 1976, apparently. It was very peaceful. Nothing extraordinary ever happens until one night murders begin. The townspeople believe that some maniacal killer is on the loose who they intend to hunt down. And Marty, a young handicapped boy, believes the killer is no man at all, but a werewolf. And after a run-in with the werewolf, Marty and his sister Jane hunt all over town for who that werewolf is.
Who is it? Who?
I don't know. I mean, this movie has a lot of really fun. I think it has some fun sequences. I don't know. I love it. I love this movie. I love this movie more. The more I think about it,
Yeah, I love it. I don't understand how anybody could not like it. You don't have to love it, but you have to like it.
I love it.
I heard. Okay, Precious. My Precious. Why did so Shotzi's gone Gollum. Why I've seen a lot of complaints about the script. That's what I saw online when I looked around why people have trouble with it. But I kind of felt like it was a pretty good little
I mean, what were there?
I didn't find many plot holes in it at all. Like I
mean,
really
it was
couldn't.
just a pretty fun horror
Yeah,
movie.
it's
So
fun.
I mean,
yeah.
do you really need to dissect it that much? Oh,
Did you know that Gary Busey ad-libbed most of his lines?
I could totally see that.
I think that with Gary Busey, you just
You
give him a
just have to
general
go
idea
with
Yeah,
of
you
what
have
he
to,
has
right?
to do,
Yeah.
and he just kills it. This
I love
is one
him.
of the movies that made me love Gary Busey.
Yeah.
And why I put up with shenanigans of how apparently crazy he is nowadays. Like, he's just...
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, for that type of character he played,
Oh,
not even just in this movie, but just in general, dude fucking nails it. Like,
Uncle Red. Yeah, he was awesome.
what? Yeah, man. Dude,
He plays a really great loser that is the best uncle ever. That's what he's playing. Like, and he does a really good job of it.
gore, super fun adventure, a fucking hot rodded wheelchair, which either one of those, the one he had versus the new one he got. How the fuck is he getting that shit in school? First of all, it's always bugged me. I'm like, normal wheelchairs, understand, but motorized one, like motorcycle wheelchairs, how are you fucking floating through class? How's that allowable through the hallways?
Did he go in the hallways with that thing?
How else was he getting around in school?
I was assuming maybe he
Yeah,
had
I
a
fig- yeah.
wheelchair. Maybe he had a wheelchair.
I
Waiting, and they were like, "You
figured
leave
that he
car out of
got
here."
to school in that rocket wheelchair and then
I'm saying
switched
he
over
was
to his
he was
regular
fucking
one.
getting
Yeah.
slideways through the hallways,
No,
and
I
I'm telling
don't.
you,
I don't think that's what
That's-
happened.
I'm pretty
don't
sure they
think-
would be like, "That's your outside bike."
Yeah,
It
yeah.
is pretty sweet.
those are your outside legs.
I didn't know this, but Tarker's Mill, where the action takes place, is actually from Stephen King's universe. It borders Chester's Mill, Derry, and Castle Rock, which is where a lot of other stories take place. It happens in Derry, Needful Things, Cujo,
Castle
Pet
Rock.
Cemetery, Castle Rock, and then under the dome is Chester's Mill. Basically, that's a messed up part of the country. Lots of things happen there.
I like how he always kept, he had consistent little towns that he would go back to. I thought it was always a
That's
cool
one
idea.
of my favorite. Well, Stephen King, I think, picked that up from H.P. Lovecraft, where you kind of create this realistic world that is your world or just off of your world, and you really keep going. You stick with the map, and you make it so you could almost go there and see these places that he describes. I always thought that was really cool. But yeah, there's a little bit of a controversy over this movie. Was it Don Coscarelli was scheduled to direct, but left over creative differences after producers wouldn't listen to Stephen King's script notes. They tossed him out, so he bailed. And that this is the one and only directed movie by Daniel Attias, who only directs TV after this. He never did another movie. So
He did a good job.
I think some people think he didn't, which is probably why he never did it again.
This is
Yeah,
just
this-
boggling
yeah,
my mind. I
right?
don't understand how anyone could look at it and be like, this movie's shitty.
Like, this would be the movie that I would, like, if I was talking to a little kid and they were, like, loving werewolves, I would be like, let's watch this. This is a fun werewolf movie.
Yeah, I don't know how I haven't showed my nephew this.
Yeah, because this is, like, it feels like that. Like, it has the same qualities of the Gate and Goonies.
Monster Squad for sure.
And Monster Squad. Like, I think that's the charm of it.
Yeah, and how you're fucking inhuman or heartless if you don't like this movie.
How did you guys feel about how the werewolf looked, though? Because
He looked like a bear.
Or a big dog.
It was actually bear hair
Yeah.
on him.
Oh, well.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
And I guess the producers weren't happy with how it looked. But, like,
No,
I
he
guess
looks
it
like a
started,
bear.
like, Stephen King didn't want it to be a big hulking werewolf like that was in a lot of movies
I mean, he
at
was
that time.
cute. He's
But
cute.
it did look a little...
The head was way
cheese.
too big
Yeah.
and, like, cartoonish looking. So, like, for that, it kind of killed it for me aesthetically. But what was cool was in his dream, the priest's dream, those werewolves looked pretty rad, like them metamorphosizing into
All the people changing?
Yeah.
That was
That
actually
was
a really cool
part.
sequence.
Yeah.
Or even when he was changing into the werewolf when he was before he beat that guy with the bat.
Yeah.
He looked more wolfy
Yeah.
and less like a bear.
There was like a in between stage.
Yes,
Before
yeah.
he got full blown werewolf,
mhm.
where it was like kind of like almost like Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell ish looking werewolf thing, or like, you know, just when he was full blown bear land, like like Smokey the Bear.
Didn't American Werewolf in London kind of look like a bear too? I mean, all props to Rick Baker and his work, but like, it kind of was like when it was fully transformed, that werewolf was kind of hulking bearish too. I remember.
Just in body, but the face was very dog-like. You know, it was very
It had
long
like a
snout,
bigger
like,
snout. Yeah,
you know.
I think that's also the problem with this werewolf is that his snout just wasn't long enough. But when he was transforming, he had that long.
Yeah, when it comes out.
Yeah, when it comes out. Yeah.
Well, it's very American Werewolf in London looking. But then when it gets...
And then it shrinks a little for some reason.
Oh, his head just gets so fucking big. And it's like,
Right.
oh, it's a bear. It looks like a guy in a bear suit.
It's so weird because there's so many really amazing werewolf designs that I've seen. You know, like Underworld alone, their werewolves looked amazing. Like,
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just a shame. Like, this one looks a little hokey. I wish they would have kept the mystery up of who the werewolf was for the audience a little bit longer, because I really do feel like when you realize it's the priest, that scene when the werewolf, so Marty, right? That's his name, Marty? Why am I spacing on his name? Marty. I was right. When Marty encounters the werewolf for the first time at night on the bridge, launching fireworks, he shoots it in the eye, which is awesome. So then they're like, okay, so whoever the werewolf is would have a hurt eye, and the girl, his sister, goes and collects glass bottles for everyone for the church as an excuse to look at everybody's face, and spends the whole day looking.
Yeah.
Until she drops off the bottles, and then the guy, he lifts his head up from working in the garden. He has a patch. I feel like if I had a suggestion, not a criticism, it would have been a better thing to keep it a mystery and stay the audience with the kids, not knowing who the werewolf is, and then after that point, show things from his perspective where he's having those kind of dream sequence, because that dream sequence happens just before that scene.
Yeah.
Like, we already know he's the werewolf before they do. I think it would have been kind of cooler if we were all
If he hit it more.
if the movie had held that back, and then once we now know it's him, before we can hate him, then we get his perspective on stuff and show his transformations.
Let's just pause and talk about little Lucas. in his upper body strength of fucking scaling down the lattice outside of his room.
Hey.
And you know what I mean? First of all, there's that. And then second, that little fucker deserved to die. You know people are getting mauled and just ripped to shreds around your town.
And you're like, oh, I'm gonna
go light off some fireworks in fucking in the middle of the night.
That's what kids do, right? They do.
I guess,
shit.
but when like your friend is getting fucking torn apart and people
that
are
was
dying,
that's true. That's
like
true.
you're probably like, you know what? Probably don't want to go out in the middle of the night when people are dying.
Yeah, my friend just died, so
I think
maybe
they
I
had
don't
some.
want to.
Maybe that's the criticism on the script on this.
But
Like,
well, I mean,
those sort of scenes, that sort of logic jump, like with a little bit more adjustment, this could have flowed a bit better.
I mean that's granted. Again, they're stupid kids, and fucking fireworks are awesome. So they're like, I gotta get out.
That dumb.
Well, hey,
You know.
but so yeah, that was my. I'm like, you little shit. But there's always got to be someone that deserves to die when they're doing stupid shit in movies. You're like, what the fuck are you doing, dummy?
Well, I got a question though for you guys. Were you guys stupid kids? Because I don't think we were very. I was very stupid. Like I wasn't like, oh, somebody's there's a murderer around. I'm gonna go launch fireworks at night. Like I didn't.
No, I was a good fucking kid.
I mean, I wasn't like that dumb. I mean, I did some dumb shit like played around with guns and shit. Like, you know,
Yeah.
but. I mean, if people were dying, I probably would have been like, oh, hey, there's some murderer on the loose. I'm going to go play with fireworks in the middle of the night. But, you know.
I probably would have.
Gone and play with fireworks. In the
Yeah.
night.
I mean, it is what it is.
If I heard about all these fucking murders and my friend was like, hey, let's go sneak out and light these I always snuck out. Okay, maybe I wasn't such a great kid. I snuck out a lot.
You're savage.
I mean, we never did anything too crazy.
Yeah,
We'd
but if
like
your
go to
friend
the
had
park.
died, you would not be going out.
Maybe not. I don't know.
If there was a lot of deaths.
I don't know.
Well, you know what's really funny about some of the pacing of this story is like one of the original werewolf stories, which is a true story of a series of murders that happen around this town. It's kind of a folklore tale. It's kind of true. It's a historical thing, but like this town thought they were being attacked by a werewolf, and they were looking to see who was doing all the killing. It's a pretty interesting story and worth looking up, but there is a historical place for werewolves, and it was very similar to this town struggle.
Where?
Mostly France and Germany is where these stories come from,
Okay.
and they're mostly like it's really mostly about serial killers, like people who are killing multiple people in an area, and everyone starts freaking out and they start believing it's werewolves. But it's interesting, like these things happen. If people just look up like historical reference of where werewolf legends come from, it's really, I mean, if anything, it's really a serial killer explanation.
Yeah.
Is that, it's kind of freaky if you think about it. It's like almost the initial term for a serial killer was werewolf. And they figured it was
That's
werewolf.
dope.
It's kind of crazy to think about
Yeah.
that.
If I was a serial killer, I would hope that they were calling me the werewolf. It's badass.
I remember that in case I ever find out about a series of killings where like weird green hairs were left.
And there's like poop sitting next to them.
Or on your
that would be my signature. I would like, take a dump next to my victims.
It follow your wrestling track throughout the country.
I'm gonna remember this conversation the next time somebody asks me what it's like being your friend and being on this podcast with you. It's like,
Lot of poop.
she'd kill you. Take a dump next to your corpse. Yeah.
Then tell you to eat a banana.
Eat a banana.
And now I have a question.
Okay.
Since the werewolf is a priest, is it some sort of like subliminal thing saying religion is really a wolf in sheep's clothing? Because he's all like, I'm the priest, but I'm gonna kill you.
I don't know. I kind of got the impression it was more like a Stephen King angle, kind of thing where you're taking.
I mean, not that I really ever thought that anytime I watched it, but I was just like, huh.
It's taking somebody that you're supposed to trust and believe in and feel safe with and kind of twist it. But considering how many, problems we've had with priests in America, it's like now that seems sort of naive and weird, but like initially in America, like being a priest was pretty you were pretty much considered to be legitimately good and trustworthy and awesome. But like now at this point, we know that that's.
I don't know. Anytime I see a priest, I'm like, no, you're a bad man. That's just a cover up. That's a costume.
There's good priests out there, but
This look like a costume to you.
I mean, just in general, not that I'm anti-religion or anything, but just in the current climate where everyone's like, boo religion, it popped in my head. I'm like, huh. If that was made today, then that would have been like a sub-theme of religion's bad, don't trust it, bleh. But
it's funny because, like, I think it was more just taking, like, the innocence and, like, trustworthiness of somebody.
Totally.
I mean, it was totally,
yeah.
It was a really good angle to
like
play,
a teacher being,
yeah. I mean, it's a good angle, the priest and werewolf.
Totally.
You know what? I have a cousin that was a Franciscan monk. It is a Franciscan monk. Like, doesn't wear a priest collar, wears literally brown monk robes.
Dope.
Does he drink St. Anke's beer?
I don't know, but he is awesome. He goes by brother, not father. He's a brother.
Yeah.
And he was an investigator for the church.
Yeah, brother.
He would investigate, like, allegations of impiety and behavior. He was basically I was like, one time I asked him, I was like, wait, are you like a Justicar? Like, are you like an Inquisition? And he's like, there is no such thing as the Inquisition now. We don't do those kind of things. I'm an investigator for the church. I was like, that is awesome. So he would investigate situations, you know, mostly like behavior, like somebody in the wrong. Did this priest do something? Did they break it down? And he would show up, but he was like a monk, and he was literally one of the people that gave me, like, if I have any sort of faith in religion, it's because of people like him, because he was just like, I'd ask him like all the really shitty questions, especially as a kid, like, you know, can God like create a rock that he can lift, or like, you know, or like, why does it say it like this and say it like this? And then one day he was like, Dominic, let me break it down to you. The Bible was written by man, humans, and then interpreted, and then translated, and then heavily edited. We know it, you know it, everybody knows it. Faith is greater than that. And I mean, he'd say these like really encouraging, like, because you go to, like, I'm Sicilian Irish Catholic. Like, I was made to go to, like, it was a time I had to go to Catholic school. I had to go confess stuff.
Yeah.
I had to go through everything.
Right.
And they were also full of shit sometimes when you're talking to these people. But, oh my God, first time, I'm like in first grade and they make me go confess.
What did you confess to?
I literally was like, I don't have anything to confess. And they're like,
oh, man,
you have something. And so I said, check this out. I said, so I am mean to my brother and sister and I pick on them too much. And so I had to say all these, like, Our Fathers and Hail Marys. And then the next week they make you go and confess again, because I was in Catholic school. And they're like, what do you have to confess? I was in 4th grade. And then I was like, so last week I lied to you. I'm never mean with my brother and sister. So I lied last week. And they're like, so I had to lie the confession. So I'd lie a confession because I was like, I didn't do anything. And I'd look at the commandments. I was like, I didn't do anything. So I'd say that I was mean to my brother and sister, and then I would, like, tell them that I lied to them last week, and then I'd confess that, and then the next week I'd be like, I thought about stealing something, and then I'd confess the next week I didn't think about stealing something at all. I totally lied to you last week. So I'd make up one
awesome.
because they wouldn't let me leave until I confessed something.
Yeah.
So I just make up one, and then I'd confess that I made that up. And like eventually the priest got really wise to me, and he was like, Dominic, you're killing me. And I'm like, I don't do anything.
You're like, I'm a good kid.
I'm like trying here. What do you want from me?
I totally remember what my first confession
What was
was
your
for
first
communion.
confession?
It was talking about looking at, like, dirty magazines.
Damn!
And shit like that. Oh, yeah.
You got real.
Oh, well, I was like, some other, like, random, like, dumb little kid shit. But, yeah, dirty magazines was, like, the thing. I was like, I look at dirty magazines and blah, blah, blah.
That came later. I found a brown bag full of dirty magazines in my front yard.
My brother's, like, 9 years older than me, and all my friends around my neighborhood were, like, 5 years older than me. So, like...
You were hip to the nudies.
Oh, yeah, he was flipping through them skin mags since I was like 6 years old.
Well, I got embarrassed. I would get super embarrassed. I couldn't handle it. Like, I did not want to see it. Like, one time I got really embarrassed when my little brother was playing with a bunch of, like, porn magazines at somebody's house. And I got super embarrassed. And then my mom felt really bad that I got embarrassed and didn't want me to feel weird about, like, the naked form. So she bought me a magazine.
Oh my, that's awkward!
It was so awkward. It was the most awkward thing. I mean,
Like,
I know...
Mom, no!
I know what she was trying to do, and I really appreciate it.
that
But
is
like,
sweet, but
I think I was
also-
10 or 11, and just really, really shy. And I wasn't freaked out about the magazines. I didn't want my little brother drawing attention to these magazines right there. And I got embarrassed that adults were noticing that I was somewhere near dirty magazines.
Yeah.
And then she buys me one, and I'm just like,
And this is where the podcast takes a turn.
and that's when I became a werewolf.
Yeah.
And then you killed your mom.
I mean, lycanthropy is just a metaphor for puberty anyway. So, you know, when a man enters puberty, he's like, starts growing hair in places he never fucking thought he could. It's all about puberty, man.
Is that what this? I
That's
mean,
good
in some
how-
ways, I guess this movie is about like kind of a, you know, a growing up, you know,
Hell yeah.
like how I segued in your adolescence back into this movie.
There you go. Dude, this movie's fucking fun. And
It
like
is so much fun.
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
hot rodded fucking
That Monster Squad feel.
dude, hot rod, wheelchair, Gary Busey's your uncle, your crazy drunk uncle who just got a divorce and is fucking riding around in like some a Porsche or whatever the fuck it was. I can't exactly remember what kind of car he had at the moment. It was convertible though. It was pretty ballsy.
I would like to see. This is a movie that could be remade, or even if not remade, redo the werewolf parts, like and make it look cooler, and you could like even keep the actors and just remaster it.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wonder why they don't do that more, like remaster stuff a little bit, like in a
Yeah.
good way, like
You,
really.
you don't mean in the Star Wars way where they put fucking weird ass Jabba the Hutt in there?
I was all about the Star Wars reboots, remakes, except for stuff like that where they forced in scenes that just were awkward. Like, dude, clean up the scenes and tell me you want this to be a better looking version. I'm all about it, because even I noticed little boxes that
but
kept
don't
moving around
add-
TIE
yeah.
fighters and stuff. But yeah,
Don't add weird shit.
the stupid stuff just to add it in. Like
Don't
that
add
was,
characters that weren't there.
or change who shot first.
Right.
That was annoying. Those things were what like made that annoying to me. New songs, that new song and dance thing at the end, like in Return of the Jedi, in Jabba's thing, and then at the end of the Ewoks ending, like, dude, just keep that the way it is. Just make it look better.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm just still shocked that this movie flopped.
You know, one of the things that I really want to mention is, like, I feel like this
86 though.
86?
85.
85?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, close.
I mean, it probably had some competition.
That's what I'm
too.
saying.
Well,
Yeah.
my biggest problem, like, the thing I love about this movie is something that most of the werewolf movies don't do. They don't really focus on the mystery. They don't focus on, like, I mean, yeah, the kid stuff is really cool, but this is I think this could have even been developed. I'd like to see that more. Normally, when they do werewolf movies, it's all about, like, somebody getting revenge, somebody hulks out. It's essentially like almost like the Incredible Hulk. You know, you just burst out and start killing stuff and going crazy. But it would be fun to focus on the mystery.
They played it almost
it
like a
is.
vampire.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where it's like, oh, the thing, you know, total mystery, kind of who is it, and it's just like this normal guy or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
I love that.
Yeah,
I think they should have developed that more. They played with it and touched upon it, and it had the setting, and I think that's what's holding it back from being truly loved. If they'd have focused on a bigger mystery, set it up so that you're wondering who it is. And then when they show who the werewolf is...
You do wonder a little bit, because I remember the first time that we watched it together, and I had never seen it. I was like, oh, who is it? Who is it? And you're just like, I'm not telling you.
Yeah, no.
No, I think they touch on that, but like they reveal it a little too early because it would be fun. I think it would have been better if we found out who he was at that moment where he has the patch. And then from there we start seeing
Right.
his transformation.
Totally.
We see his dreams that he's tormented.
Totally.
Like it could have shifted on its axis at that point in the movie. But it
Yeah.
would have been really fun if you're like wandering around going, somebody in this town is doing this. Who is? And they don't make werewolf movies like that, which is why I think werewolf movies are kind of tough.
Yeah, you're always seeing the werewolf in the first person.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you always know who it is. It's like, oh, okay, there's a werewolf, and then it bites somebody, and then they're obviously now the werewolf.
Yes.
And then you just watch them do their thing all the time.
Do
It's
their
never
werewolf
like
thing.
a plotting, kind of character where he's like, oh, I got to keep this a secret, and or whatever, and where nobody else knows what's going on.
I like that this is told from not the werewolf perspective.
Yeah.
Dealing
Yeah.
with this problem. I'd like to see movies like this, like more stories like this put out there. I think it would do really well. And
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing this being remade.
yeah, if they did it right, or even if not this one remade, but like taking this concept and moving it forward.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
you're like, who? Because they have like games, like they have like card games. Where like, what is that? Wait, werewolf? I know there's a game where you're trying to figure out who on the table is a werewolf and
Right.
blah blah blah. But I don't know. I think that this movie comes closer to the kind of werewolf stories I want to see, but don't get to see.
Yeah. If they remade it, it would have to be like a Night of the Living Dead remake, like the 90 or 93 one, where it's literally like the same movie. You know what I mean?
But just in this time.
Yeah,
or
or
whatever.
you could say it's just
I-
redone, but they would have to do practical effects because
Well, see,
Yeah.
that's why I'm like, I'm okay with shit being remade now because practical effects is really cool right now.
Yeah, they're trying to really focus on that.
It's super cool now.
so I'd be down with that, but I just don't have faith when they try and remake shit anymore.
I think
I don't know. I really liked it, and I've been liking a lot of shit that's coming out, and like
Do you feel better about
I'm
it?
hopeful on Danny McBride's Halloween.
Well, as we've discussed, anything that man touches is going to be awesome.
I have a question. It's been a couple weeks since
Yeah.
we reviewed it for our show, and we were pretty hard on it.
Yeah.
In retrospect, have you guys come around to liking it a little bit more?
No, I mean, no. I still stand where I was when we talked about it, but I did like that movie,
I liked it too.
and I think it's good for horror now because I feel like maybe someday we'll get bigger names in horror movies, like Chris Pratt being in the second half of it.
Is he? Or is
I
it
don't
still
know.
being-
I don't know. I'm hopeful. Come on,
sure they're
Chris
talking
Pratt,
to him.
please. I know you listen to this podcast because
He should be Ben. So you'd be Ben.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, he would.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this movie's worth seeing. It's super fun.
100%.
So, zombie candy corn time.
5 candy corn,
Little cute
Cuties.
little zombie candy corns.
cute little zombie candy corns. I never even remember what the fucking
You
thing
just
is.
say shit.
I
It's just-
do,
You just get the whole ghost in you and you start testifying.
pretty much.
I find that you remember when we say it wrong.
Yes.
You totally
No,
remember how
yeah.
it's supposed to be said.
Exactly. Like I can't ever say it, but when you guys say it wrong,
Yeah, you're all over it. You're right there.
What do you mean? A chick remembering when you did something wrong? That's uncalled for. Dominic, how dare you?
Right. So what about you? Zombie candy corns.
I
Little
think
ones.
so. For me, I'm gonna give it 4 cute little zombie candy corns. Only because
not 5.
no, not 5. Only because the giant bobble-headed werewolf. Like
But I love the giant bubble-headed werewolf.
it's like I've never heard that before. It even as a little kid, renting movies all the time, like huge horror fan, and I would saw the Howling and all that shit. Like, it always fucking bugged me. I'm like, oh man, that werewolf kind of sucks. Like it was always a point of contention for me.
The producers thought it sucks.
But everything else about the movie, I was like, dude, this movie fucking rules.
Right.
So, a hard 4.
Hard for.
If the werewolf would look better, be 5 for sure.
Damn, the werewolf looking like that takes a whole point off.
Yeah,
An entire point.
Yeah, because even the Monster Squad had a fucking badass looking werewolf.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm
The
like,
werewolf looks better than
I'm like,
this werewolf.
come on.
What is Monster Squad? 89? 80?
8.
88?
Almost positive it's 88.
Okay.
I can double check.
But I mean, even at 85, there was still so much. There was enough reference to make a cool looking fucking.
I think they were trying to. I'm gonna look it up because now I'm curious. What 87. 87 for Monster Squad.
There's
I think they were just trying too hard to make it look a little different, and it kind of struggled with
Yeah.
it.
well, there was a few like other weird 80s random werewolf movies. Like, what the fuck was the movie? Maybe A Company of Wolves or something like that, where they were werewolves and they all just kind of look like fucking weird teddy bears.
Uh-huh.
There might have been a Howling at some point where they looked really.
Have you guys
fucking
seen
stupid.
Ginger Snap?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's alright. Was that 90s? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But yeah, man, that definitely took me out of it a little bit, and it's always bugged me. So, for sure 4. I would love to give it 5, but that's been too much. It's too much for me to overlook. So,
I'm sticking with my 5.
yeah, I definitely think. I mean, I
just have such a love for werewolves.
well, I
I
don't
fucking love werewolves so much.
If
God
you-
damn it!
They are my favorite monster.
Yes, like zombies, meh. Vampires, meh. Mummies, meh. Werewolves, oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
Our listeners, the Candy Killers, could have seen you demonstrate that. There's so much physicality to the extent of what you were trying to
I
say.
know, it's such a shame that they can't see what we're doing.
One day, don't worry, everybody. One day.
No, it's never gonna happen.
It'll
Stop
happen.
Stop telling them it's gonna happen. It's never
gonna
happening.
will. It will
It's gonna
definitely
happen.
happen.
It'll
Oh,
happen.
okay,
We
sure.
will schedule one and we will do it live.
Alright. No, our Halloween one has to be recorded. It
Yeah,
has to be.
yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, I think zombies and werewolves are definitely the most dynamic of like monsters. You know, when you're like bleh, either gory or just a transformation of a werewolf.
Yeah, because it's the transformation that's super fun, and I think everyone kind of just sort of assumes it has to have certain beats, and I feel like it needs to focus a little bit more externally on dealing with the werewolf rather than dealing with being a werewolf.
Right.
I really like how these kids are trying to struggle, like, what do we do about this thing?
Again, if you don't like this movie, fuck you. Like, that's the only thing I can say. Like, you could not love it. You could be like, man, it's really great, but it's not my favorite movie. I'd be like, yeah, I totally get that. I understand. Right. But if you're like, dude, that movie sucks. Like, you're a dick. Like, that's weird. There's no way you cannot like this movie.
It's fun.
Or at least enjoy it. Like, it's an enjoyable fucking movie. So if you don't like it, I hope you fucking die.
From farting
From farting.
Wow.
your brains out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a rough way to go.
Yeah. I would imagine that'd be painful.
Lucas, the Juicy Busey, come on.
It's a good movie. I'd probably go 3.5 to 4 cute little zombie candy corns. I'm getting a little rough on the movie now, even though I love it, and I do. I'm getting a little rough on it for the 3.5 is why I'm considering, because of I feel like it would have been better to preserve the mystery. And the more I think about it, the more I was like, that would have been awesome. But I don't mean to backseat drive. This movie's awesome. It is one of my favorite werewolf movies. I know it has some quirks, and some people say the story has some problems, but I think that it's a really cool take on werewolf movies, and especially in the last couple of years where werewolves are always kind of second fiddle or some sort of monster in there and mixed with other stuff. It's like, it is a lot. It's just really cool to see this.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, until next time, this is Screaming E.
Dominic Davy.
Shotzi Blackheart.
And we are Monster Candy Podcast.
Suck my big giant bear head.
been listening to Monster Candy Podcast. Want to find out more about the show? Find us on the web at monstercandypodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram by searching Monster Candy Podcast. And you can find our Twitter at MonsterCNDYPC. Hey, we couldn't fit the whole name. What do you want from us? Let us know what you think of the show and if we're right or if we're wrong or what you want us to tackle next. We want to hear from you. Well, Shotzi and I do, but I can promise that E doesn't really care. To find out more about Shotzi Blackheart and her professional wrestling, follow her Twitter at Shotzi Black or her Instagram at Shotzi Blackheart. You can follow Screamin' E's band, the Memphis Murder Men, on Facebook at TMMM official page or his Instagram at Screamin' E. That's screaming with no G, add the E. For me, Dominic Davy, you can find my artwork at dominicdavy.com, my band Tsunami Bomb at tsunamibomb.net, and you can hear my other podcast, 3 Gigs, at 3gigspodcast.com, or on the same platform you're hearing this podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time on Monster Candy Podcast.
The man Uncle Red had gone to see was more than a gunsmith. He was, Uncle Red said, an old-world craftsman, a sort of wizard of weapons. He confirmed the high-grade silver content of my crucifix and Marty's medallion, melted them down, and molded them into a silver bullet.